One of the biggest challenges businesses face is realizing revenue from a quote or proposal after it's been presented to the customer. This starts when the quote or proposal has been delivered to the customer and ends once payment has been accepted. This entire process from generating the quote to collecting revenue is referred to as the quote to cash cycle. QuoteWerks is known for creating professional, accurate, and interactive quotes, but it also has systems to support quote follow-up as well as direct communication with the customer and payment acceptance via QuoteValet. Today we will cover quote delivery options, reminder settings for both the customer and the sales rep, and interactivity provided by the QuoteValet platform. As you can see, I've created a sample quote for a customer. I've populated the quote with the products I wish to sell and assigned my customer contact in the Sold To tab. Before I deliver this quote to the customer, I'd like to make some adjustments in the quote workbook to provide some interactivity in QuoteValet. One of the items we have here, the desktop computers, should have 2 monitors for each desktop sold. So anytime the desktop quantity is adjusted, we want to make sure the monitor's quantity is incremented by 2. We can do this by clicking on the parent item first, holding the control key, selecting the child item, and hitting the Set Dependent Quantities icon on the grid toolbar. This will open a window that asks you to set the relative quantity multiplier. In this case, we want to set this to 2. You'll notice that the parent item is now purple, the child item is yellow, and if we make adjustments to the desktop quantity, the monitor's quantity is adjusted by a multiple of 2. Next, I would like to allow the customer to adjust the number of desktops they would like to order directly within the QuoteValet quote. I do this by selecting the desktop line item, right-clicking, and selecting Edit Line Attributes. This opens the Line Attributes window. Notice towards the center of this window a drop-down box with the label Allow QV QTY Change. Setting this to Yes will allow the customer to change the quantity in QuoteValet, and because we set up dependent quantities, if they make a change, it will also auto-increment the monitors by a multiple of 2. The last thing I would like to do in the quote workbook is set our optional items to optional and allow the customer to select and deselect the options they want. In this case, I want to make all 4 optional accessories able to be adjusted by the customer. We do this by clicking on one of the items, holding down Control, selecting the rest of the items we'd like to make optional, and right-clicking on any of those items. We'll select Edit Line Attributes again, but this time we want to change Is Optional to Yes, and to ensure these items are selected by default when presented to the customer on the QuoteValet webpage, we will select the Is Selected checkbox. We've now made changes needed to set dependent quantities, allow the customer to make quantity adjustments on some products, and even made some items optional for the customer. Now that I'm ready to deliver the quote to the customer, I have a few options to do so. By clicking the Deliver tab, I open the Print, Share, Publish, Deliver document window. Here I have the ability to choose my quote template along with other resources I would like to include with the quote. Notice the right side of this window we have a number of different options. We can print, preview, email, save as PDF, upload to QuoteValet, and submit for peer review. You can use the print option if you'd like to physically print out the quote. Preview allows you to review the quote before sending it to the customer. Save as PDF allows you to save the quote as a PDF to your local machine. And submit for peer review allows you to send the quote to a colleague for their review prior to presenting it to the customer. When it comes to automated delivery to the customer, you can choose Email to use the QuoteWerks native email client and send the PDF of the quote. Alternatively, and the real focus of today's demonstration, you can choose to deliver the quote via QuoteValet. QuoteValet is the online quote delivery and acceptance vehicle for QuoteWerks. QuoteValet is a more robust way to deliver quotes to your customers and prospects and offers features like multiple signature approval, reminder options, bidirectional communication regarding a quote, payment acceptance, and more. To explore options in QuoteValet, we will click on the Upload to QuoteValet button. This opens the Upload to QuoteValet window. In this window, we can once again preview the PDF version of the quote. We also have the ability to set different options. The first setting is signing options. These are the settings that govern the multiple signature approval process. The process gives you the ability to capture approvals from multiple contacts at the customer's business, users internal to your organization, and third parties that may need to approve a quote prior to order conversion. While we don't go into detail about multiple signature approval in this video, there's a separate video and a help file dedicated to this topic. The next setting we have in the Upload to QuoteValet window are the reminder options. This is where you begin to key in on the tools that you can use to help encourage your customers to convert quotes faster through automation. If we click on the Reminder Options button, a new window opens where we can set reminder options for both the customer and the sales rep. This gives us the ability to configure the system to send follow-up emails to the recipient, that'd be the person who is the sold to contact on the quote, and/or the sales rep that prepared the quote. You have the ability to remind the recipient and/or sales rep when a quote has not been viewed, is expiring in, or accepted but not paid after X number of days. This automates the quote follow-up process so you don't have to worry about doing it manually or setting up some other system to remind you when a quote needs attention. The default behavior is to remind both the recipient and the sales rep if the quote has not been viewed in 2 days, is expiring in 3 days, or has been accepted but not paid after 7 days. All of these values and settings can be adjusted based on your specific requirements. If we click OK, this brings us back to the Upload to QuoteValet window. We're now ready to upload our quote to QuoteValet and can do so by hitting the Upload button. Clicking Upload prepares a customer-facing QuoteValet page, which is a web-based representation of your quote. Delivering a quote in this way is very powerful and gives you a wide range of options, like allowing customers to select and deselect optional items, adjust quantities, communicate with the sales rep, and even submit payment. You'll see that after hitting Upload, a few more options become available to us. We have the ability to preview the customer-facing web page by copying the URL or navigating directly to it by clicking the Preview web page on QuoteValet. We also have the ability to notify our customer by sending an email with a link to their QuoteValet web page. Let's click on Preview web page on QuoteValet to see what the customer would see if they click on their custom QuoteValet link. Here's a representation of what the customer will see. Note that the URL is aspiretechnologies.quotevalet.com. I want to point out that this has been customized to use the Aspire Technologies prefix, and you can do the same by customizing the CNAME in the QuoteValet setup window. If we take a look at this page, you will see that the customer has the ability to select and deselect products that have been set to optional and change the quantity of products that have been configured as such via line attributes in the quote workbook. This in and of itself could significantly reduce the back and forth associated with making simple quote adjustments. Let's say the customer would like to make changes to the quote that are not able to be made based on how the quote is currently configured. If we scroll down to the bottom of the page, we have a Have Questions section. Here the customer can put a note for the sales rep, let's say to remove a product that has not been set to optional, and both the sales rep and customer will receive an email with that message. This message is saved on the QuoteValet page along with the sales rep response and any further communication via the QuoteValet webpage. In the instance where the customer or sales rep wants to share a file in relation to the quote, they can use the Uploads area to attach them to the quote. Again, both the customer and the sales rep will receive a notification anytime an item is uploaded there. Before we move away from the QuoteValet page, I want to highlight two very important sections: Payment Options and Ready to Accept. Payment Options will display all payment options as configured in the Payment Setup page and can be selected by the customer. Once a customer has set up their payment method, they can accept the order in the Ready to Accept section of the web page. Here the customer will need to accept the terms and conditions of the quote, can optionally provide a PO number, make comments, confirm their email address, and digitally sign and accept the quote. If the customer has selected a payment method, they will be prompted for payment once they click on Click to Accept. Payment methods and payment handling is configured on the Payment tab under Tools and Options, and QuoteWerks supports over 80 different payment gateways. What we just reviewed can, in and of itself, change the way businesses approach their QTC process. But there is one area I'd like to highlight as it relates to keeping track and managing activity on a QuoteValet quote. This is the QuoteValet tab in the quote workbook. If we click into the QuoteValet tab for the quote we've been working on, it brings us to a page with a lot of useful information. Here we can review the customer activity on the QuoteValet webpage, including changes to optional items and quantities, quote acceptance, and even payment details. You also have the ability to review the QuoteValet page, recall the quote, delete the quote from QuoteValet, and request payment if it has not already been made. Today we've covered a lot of information. We covered the quote delivery options, reminder settings for both the customer and sales rep, and the interactivity provided by the QuoteValet platform. As you can see, QuoteWerks provides a number of options to shorten your quote-to-cash cycles and generally improves the interactivity of your quotes and proposals. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about QuoteWerks, please feel free to reach out to our support team at 407-248-1481.